Welcome to Sullivan Guitar Works, and today at OGW Studios we are going to be talking about an often overlooked but very important piece of your tone, guitar picks. So for a lot of people, guitar picks are easy. It's whatever's comfortable, it's whatever your friend gave you, it's whatever sometimes you find on the practice floor. You'd be surprised how many guitarists I've worked with over the years who just find a pick in practice and use it. To me, I find that dumbfounding. I'm very meticulous with the details about like what strings I use, the type of coating they have, how I set up my bass, how I set up my rig, cable management. I'm very particular, if not a little bit overly particular. And pick was something that I never really focused on for a long time until the last few years I decided to focus more on my bass pick setup. I played a lot in other bands using fingers, but decided for the band that I'm in currently and for a lot of the projects I was doing currently, picks would be the best way to get a natural kind of real aggressive attack. So I took some time, I invested some money into trying some different things. I bought a couple of expensive sets of picks, was quite disappointed with a few of them. I bought some cheap picks, very disappointed in them, but ultimately I think price is going to come down to the company and what the material is of the pick. You don't have to spend a lot to get something really good. It just so happens now what I have settled on and what I'm really comfortable with is something that does cost a little bit more than your average sort of pick set you'd buy from maybe Amazon or Strings Direct or someone like that. But the point of today is to take a look at a few different types of picks and talk about the attributes of those picks and see how they sound. Now, very tricky subject. I've seen a few people tackle the issue of pick thickness and materials, and sometimes you can't really tell a difference. You have to probably go from quite a dramatic range of really thin, like your 0.60s, all the way up to your 2s and 4 mils to really notice a massive sound and tone difference. And sometimes tone doesn't really transfer until you even plug in. Like if I'm playing my bass at home, sometimes I can't notice those subtle differences unless I'm plugged into an amp. So let's take a look at a couple of different types of picks you can get and a couple of different thicknesses so we can get an idea of their application. So the first pick we're going to be looking at is the smallest I have, and that is the, let's get to focus, the 0.60 Mil Tortex Flex. This pick is, again, the smallest I own because I really wouldn't go, of the thinnest I own because I wouldn't go any thinner than this just for even playing around. It is, I mean, you can see, try and get a bit of bend, flimsy, bendy. I've heard a lot of people say that shredders like flimsy picks. I've heard a lot of people say shredders like hard, rigid picks. Again, preference, but this is an example. The material, they say these are more durable, have a lot more memory built into them, which is fine, but you know, I change my picks often as well, so wear and stuff like that is an issue. The standard Tortex for me always seems too rounded on the point anyway, so as you'll see with my ones that I use for guitar, I tend to sharpen the points a little bit. So that's the 0.60 mil. Any application you want, again, good for quick movement around the neck, around the strings even, but not my cup of tea, definitely. Now this time I'm going to compare two picks that are the same gauge. These are both 0.73 mils. This is a Nylon Jim Dunlop, and this is your standard Tortex Jim Dunlops. There is a noticeable difference if you look at the Nylon. It's a little bit worn, I think it's came from one of my guitarists. It's bendy, very, very bendy, a lot of flex in that. And there's a slight stay that you need to adjust after you bend it, whereas with the Tortex, rigid, a lot more rigid. That to me, playable. I could definitely use one of these. It wouldn't be terrible, but definitely not ideal. I think after a while, if I was kind of chugging and playing some sort of real, you know, digging in riffs, I would find this lackluster. But, you know, it has its applications with people, definitely. In addition to that, we have the triangle edition of it. That is popular among bassists. Not my thing. A little too big. A little too clumsy it feels in the hand. Yeah, it just overlaps a little too much on the fingers, but definitely has its merits, I'm sure. Again, 0.73 mil, not really my size. This is a bit of an odd one, bit of an outlier. This is like a random kind of jazz pick type one that I found. It just it was floating around my gear. I think I've had it for a while, never really used it, never had much need for it. Unbranded, but kind of works like a Dunlop Jazz. It's quite flexible. I'm going to guess probably 0.73 mil, maybe 8.8, but feels like a 7.3. But yeah, jazz picks are a very valid thing. There's a lot of guitarists I know that use these and really swear by them, but not been something I've been a big fan of. Another quite usable one, which will be next up on the size, would be this. This is the 0.88 mil Tortex Standard. Not too flexible. There's a bit of give. Not much. Good bit of resistance. I could see myself using one of these. I think good for digging in on riffs a little bit more. But yeah, not a bad pick. Now we're getting into that range where we're looking at 1s and 1.5s, and the first one that I've got is interesting, is the big Stubby 1 mil, the red one. I started using the Stubbies. I bought a little pack, like a variety pack of them, just to try out. They look cool. They've been around for a long time. I remember a long time ago when I first started playing guitar, always finding these quite interesting. They're a bit of an anomaly how thick some of them were, and it always kind of confused me a little bit as to who would use one. Until I started really playing bass, I realised you can get a lot out of a thick pick. But these are not bad. A little bit of flex. A little bit more flex, I'd say, than the almost the 8.8 Tortex even. Now next up is a size that I have a variety of. These are the 1.14s. This is actually my size choice I go for when playing guitar. It just feels right. It's always just felt comfortable to me. The first one I'll show you is the relatively new, the Altexes. These are nice. I like the grip on them. This one has been used a bit. As you can see, not much bend in that. Tiny bit of give. But I do like these Altexes. They're quite comfy. Digging in on riffs and doing arpeggios and picking out chords. It's quite a nice feel. The second one I'll show you is the Flex version of that. This, as it would probably denote from the name Flex, has a little bit more give. You can see just a bit, not much more, a little bit more down the end when you leverage it a little bit. But this has a really nice point on it. I really like that point for attack. That's brilliant. The next one I'll show you is the Delrin Dunlop 500s. Never been a huge fan of these. I've never really got into them. Bit of give, but yeah, not really much to say about them. They're pretty standard stuff. You find them around everywhere. But the pick I choose and I use often when it comes to guitar and writing guitar and recording guitar is the standard Tortex 1.14, the purple. And I tend to, this one's a bit older, and no, actually I think this is relatively new. I just haven't really profiled it properly, but I tend to profile the point out a little bit more and make it quite sharp, and that helps me with picking out notes for certain riffs. We'll see a bit bend on that. Not much bend. Good rigidity, but yeah, very comfortable pick. I like the mat on it. It really helps when I'm playing guitar. Yeah, and that's something that would be really good for digging in on riffs and picking out individual notes quite clearly. Now for the 1.5 mils, these are the Maxi grip nylons. These are not bad. I don't really like the grip. Don't like the feel of the grip. This pick's not used much and not worn in yet, so maybe the grip kind of wears a little bit over time. But you can see, not much bend. A little bit more in the nylon picks. They tend to give a little bit more when you pressure them. But yeah, 1.5 mil Maxi grip nylons. Next one is the Gator Grips again. This is the USA Dunlop Gator Grip. There's a few picks of these material. Very similar to the Tortexes. That's why I say again, because it's got the same material, but this is the first Gator Grip we've looked at. But yeah, this has that same sort of material as a Tortex Standard. Not much give at all in that. It's very rigid. It's nice and stiff, but yeah, I was never a fan of the thickness when playing guitar. And the last one we'll look at in the 1.5s is the Dunlop 500 Delrin. This one is a nice colour, but yeah, again, just another Dunlop 500. I personally never found these massively impressive. These might be your cup of tea though. As far as give goes, they don't, not a ton of give to them. Quite rigid, yeah. Now we move on to some 2 mils. Now I've got a couple of different 2 mils. I've got 3 altogether. I'll get this one out of the way because, as you can tell, I'm a bit biased. I'm not a huge fan of this one, but again, we got the Dunlop 500 Delrin. Not a terrible pick. I do feel like it's quite small. Doesn't have a great point on it. And I think if you did profile that down because of the bevels, as you see, you can kind of see it's beveled on the edge, which is good for playing. But I think with the bevels, it may lose a bit of tip and it may lose a bit of attack with that. But I mean, I might try that as a little experiment one day. But yeah, not much use for these. I find these too thin for bass, and I find them too thick and uncomfortable for playing guitar. So that's the first of my 2 mils out of the way. The second of the 2 mils is the Dunlop Altex. Got this in a little variety pack. Focus. Never really had a use for it again. Tiny bit of a bevel on the edges. I think that's natural. I have played with it a little bit, but yeah, nothing massive. I like the look of the Altexes. They're really cool looking. I mean, I don't buy picks on looks, but they do look kind of cool. Not much give on that one. But yeah, the Dunlop Altexes have got a good reputation. People swear by them. And these are the sharp ones. They don't look that sharp to me. I think the Flexes actually even look a bit sharper. But yeah, pretty cool. And the last 2 mil that we'll look at is the big Stubby 2 mil, which when I first went into guitar shops when I was younger and came across Stubbies, the first one I picked up was the 2 mil. And I remember, and obviously it's got the dip. Yeah, you can kind of see it there. It's got the dip for the thumb in there. And the way I hold a pick is very difficult for me, as I hold it in the crook of the finger, and it's not very comfortable. If you do hold your pick point to point like that, that's fine. I don't, so it's kind of tricky. But yeah, I mean, not much give. 2 mils are comfortable. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I don't dislike these. If I in a pinch and I had these handy, I would use them for guitar. But again, a 2 mil is not really my cup of tea anyway. So moving into a bit more of a beefy territory now, we've got a couple of 3 mils to have a look at, and we'll look at the Stubby first. There's the big boy, the big Stubby 3 mil. That is a big old hunk of acrylic. That is nice, it beveled, and I really like the natural shape of a 3 mil big Stubby. Which is really cool. For a period I was using a 3 mil on bass. I never did use one of these because I came across the next one I'm going to show you, and I've totally fell in love with them. But this is really cool. Yeah, the big Stubby's cool. I mean, obviously this is a bit of a dumb thing to do, but yeah, my fingers will give before the pick does. So, but these are pretty cool. Big Stubby 3 mils. And the last one we got, the 3 mils. We only got the 2, unfortunately. Is my favorite 3 mil, and for a while my pick, and I'll show you how I actually customize them because they're a little bit smooth for my liking. But this is the Dunlop Prime Tone 3 mil. Cool looking pick again, and as you can see, it's got like a beveled edge on that side, and then when you turn, beveled on that side. So it's not completely beveled all the way around. You can see from the, actually you can see that really well if I get the right angle. It's got like an approach where it's like, yeah, there you go. It's kind of cool. It's awesome. It's fun. My only problem with it was playing gigs, getting slippery hands. Maybe you wipe your face or something with your hand in between playing and you get a bit slippy. So I'll show you how I modified mine using a small hand drill and a blade for scoring. I scored mine for a bit of a rougher surface, and I put some holes in it, which actually I was inspired to do by Gravity Picks, who had some picks with holes drilled in them. Only a few holes. 2 or 3 is fine, should suffice, but yeah, you can kind of see better if you hold up like that. Again, we'll try the flex test. Pointless, but yeah, no flex at all. Finger flex only. Yeah, these are cool. I like the 3 mils. Application wise, I mean, it's difficult to say application. I did say I'd look at what applications there are, but that's tricky because it's preference, naturally. But I mean, these would be great for bass. I'm sure there's merit for them on guitar. Acoustic guitar, these would probably be extremely warm and really cool, but I would probably err on the side of using these for mostly bass as a personal approach. Yeah, but they're pretty cool. But now we'll go on to have a look at what was going to replace them and look at something interesting. Now this was going to be my replacement for the 3 mil Dunlop Prime Tones, and that is the Flow 4.20 mil Prime Tone from Dunlop. I mean, they're all Prime Tone, but I think this is specifically called the Flow. You'll see it's the only green one of the lot. Awesome colour, love the colour, like a beer bottle green. And the bevel is awesome all the way around, very comfortable, very aggressive, the attack from this thing is just brutal. It's just really clear and cuts. I don't even know why I'm bothering doing this, but should we try and bend? Yeah, nah, not getting any bend with that, so that's pretty pointless, fair. But yeah, cool pick, really comfortable. I'd recommend it for bass players who want to do some sort of really digging in heavy stuff. A lot of the riffs in my band are quite chuggy, quite heavy, so to have that backing support in bass, really digging in, is quite key. You can kind of see, and this one has the grip on it. You can actually hear the grip. That's got similar to like the Maxi grip. I'm not a massive fan of it, but it's a little less rough on this, but a lot more even and grippy. So I was doing a bit of research into picks and looking at some more 4 mils because I was starting to settle on the fact I liked 4, and I started looking at Gravity and what they had to offer, and I came across something interesting that really took my eye and really just took my interest, and that was this absolute beast of a creation, the Gravity Classic Standard 6. You can get a razor version of this where it is pointed more, but this is, I think, more than enough in size. It does look like a gem, I've had a few people say. It's huge, and using it, actually even up to last night I was using it at practice, and I was comparing the 4.20 to the 6, and I think maybe it's partly the material and partly the thickness and how much bite you can get on strings, that I found myself playing a little softer and yielding the same sort of tone and results. It's a nice colour if you like your colours and really specific and particular about them. It's an amazing pick, really comfortable, and I'd say application obviously would mostly be for bass. You could probably, again, on acoustic guitar this would sound kind of cool, but yeah, that is a 6 mil pick. A lot of people probably haven't come across one. They're not cheap. You can get them between sort of 10 and 15, 16 pound online. I think I got mine for about 15, 16 shipped, and it was it came prompt, and it's amazing. I now need to annoyingly buy more, which is not the same as just buying a 12 pack of Tortex for 5-6 quid. This is going to cost me a bit more to invest, but I always say picks, if you're going to get a pick you like, invest. I don't think I need to score this. I may consider it after a while. It felt like it gripped in really nicely, and it felt like it settled in my hand really nicely. The little bit of grip from the lettering on there as well. There's a baby here. There's a tiny bit of grip from that. Actually might be enough if I have it thumb side. That actually might be enough grip for me. So we'll do the absolutely pointless bend test. Let's get focused. Yeah, there's no danger. I'm probably going to hurt my arm and my fingers before I bend this thing. So yeah, that's a selection of what I have. There are tons of other picks available. There's certainly a lot more different sizes and width of the triangles. There's a bunch of different Gravity picks out there, a bunch of different profiles. There's ones with different grips and different thicknesses. So experimentation is going to be key for you. I think you really need to invest a bit of time and money into finding what suits you. So acoustics out. My workhorse, Yamaha, I believe it's an F310, not much money, cheap guitar, simple guitar, tuned to open C because I'm a sucker for Devin Townsend. And what we're going to do for a test is we're going to start with the 0.60 mil, I think the Flex one that I have, and then work our way up all the way to the Gravity 6 mil. So 0.6 mil Flex. 0.73 nylon. .73 Dunlop Tortex. .73 triangle. The Little Jazz, I think, is a 0.73 or 0.88, so I'll go to this one next. So this is the Little Mini unbranded Jazz. 0.88 Mil Tortex Greenie. One mil big stubby, the red one. So we have 4 of the 1.14 mils now. I'll go through them all together. That's the Delrin 500 first. Now we'll try the Flex, I think. There's no logic to the order, I'm just picking up what's there. Now we'll try the Altex. And now we'll try the classic Tortex, the purple, my favourite. Now onto the 1.5s, we have 3 of these. I will start with the Darwin 500, the lilac-y kind of coloured one. Now we'll try the Nylon Dunlop Maxi grip. Now we'll try the Gator Grip Dunlop 1.5 mil. Now onto the 2 mils, and I'm going to start with the Delrin 500. Seems to be what I've been starting with in the others. 2 mil Delrin. Now we'll try the Altex. Now the big Stubby 2 mil. Now getting into the chunky territory, we'll start with the big Stubby 3 mil. And now the Prime Tone Dunlop, which was one of my base picks of choice. Now the 4.20 mil Jumbo Flow Dunlop pick. And last but no way least, the Gravity Classic Standard Shape 6 mil pick. So it's a tricky one to do pick comparisons because a major part of picks is comfort. I can say when I was playing, it probably doesn't transfer from watching me play the small little part there. The 0.60 and the 0.73 are just far too flimsy. As I was digging in even just running up the strings, I felt the thing sort of fighting against me, feeling like it was going to flick out of my hand and end up probably inside the sound hole of the guitar. The 1.14 to sort of 2 was a perfect range for acoustic guitar, and I think is a great range for electric guitar as well. If you are playing stuff where you really want to articulate notes, in some of the things I play when I'm playing heavy, very distorted, but I still want notes to ring through, a harder pick is definitely essential. There's a noticeable glassiness to the Altexes and the Delrin picks. They have a bit of a smoother feel, and there's a lot more warmth to the standard Tortexes and the Gator Grips and things like that. That's something to take into mind when you're playing. If you are playing clean sections on songs and you feel there is a difference made by a pick, warmth versus glassier sort of tones is very key. Now the interesting part being for me the fatter big picks from sort of the 3 mil to the 6. The 3 mil was really nice on the acoustic. It was the first time I really tried it on there, and I wouldn't rule it out. I wouldn't rule out using it. It's got a nice glassy tone again, like the sort of Altex picks and the Delrins, but it does have that roundedness to it. It doesn't quite have the attack point that you can get from some of the sharper picks like the 1.14s. And the 4.20 mil jumbo flow pick is interesting in the bevels. I think offers a very round feel when going over the strings. As you skip the string, you don't get as harsh a sort of detachment and as harsh a flicking sort of sound as you would with a flat edged pick. So that's something to take note of if you do want a warm sound and you do like thicker picks. And then the 6 mil Gravity Classic was interesting for me. I've not used it yet. I've not had it long, and I've not used it yet on an acoustic, and it was very cool to use. It was very different. I don't think I'd see myself using it on an acoustic or an electric for recording or for gigging, because I find I would make a few mistakes whilst getting used to it. However, on my bass, I found it fantastic, and I would recommend highly that people just give it a try for the fun of it. You know, we'll drop a lot of money on pedals and different random accessories and gadgets just to try them out. It's not a lot really, under £20 to get one of these shipped to you, and you can have a play around with it. If you don't like it, sell it. If you don't like it, keep it as an oddity, or maybe a paperweight or a doorstop would be good. Ultimately, see what you like. Try, experiment, buy some things, borrow a couple picks off of people. See what people have in your band or friends of yours have. Just have a play around. I've given guitarists different picks and seen them using them over time and realised, oh, actually that's the pick I gave them, or that's the type of pick I introduced them to. And it's kind of cool to experiment. And music is a collaborative thing at the end of the day. And even if you are a solo musician at home making your music, like at times I am, you can always look to others for inspiration. I plan to maybe do a video in the future looking at signature picks of different artists, maybe the Petrucci's and the Kirk Hammetts, just to get a feel for some of their choices. I don't have anything in there right now that is signature, but I'm sure lots of guitarists use those sort of picks that we went through today. So that's enough today from OGW Studios about guitar picks. I could go on all day about them, but I definitely won't. If you liked the video and found anything interesting in there, even if it's a little bit of opinion or a little bit of information, just let us know. Leave us a comment. Tell us if you think we missed anything. Please tell me if I missed anything. I'd happily go back over and do more videos about things like pick like choices and pick preference. And like I said, we'll get to looking at some of those signatures. If you know anyone specifically who uses a specific type of pick, let me know. And if you did like the video, please do that. Like the video, subscribe, share, hit the notifications, let people know who you think might like this sort of content as well. And take it easy and take care.